Hey, do you want to see something a little bit weird? Maybe even a lot bit weird? Do you want to see and hear a pedal that is a modern recreation of what very well may be the strangest, most unusual, most over-the-top, over-engineered, most creativity-inducing, juicing, squeezing, multi-effect pedals of the 1960s? You didn't even know there were multi-effect pedals in the 1960s, and now I'm telling you this is the weirdest one? It might be from the early 70s. But the point is, a vintage, super weird, really out there, multi-effect pedal. What the heck am I talking about? I am talking about the Templo Devices T2 sound and rhythm pedal, which is a recreation of the Maestro G2 rhythm and sound unit. Now, before I get into showing you what this thing sounds like and getting into the nitty gritty and all the weirdness, we've got a few people to thank. First of all, Steve. Steve bought this pedal. Why did he buy it? It's because Steve and I actually had the opportunity a year and a half ago to mess around and film ourselves messing around with one of the original units. We have hands-on experience with a Maestro G2 rhythm and sound unit. So when Steve saw these go into pre-order, he's like, sign me up. I want to have one of these things. So huge thanks to Steve. Thank him in the comment section, please. Say, thank you, Steve. Yay, Steve. Steve, thank you for your purchase. We appreciate you. Also, we've got to thank the sponsor. Now, this video is not sponsored like normal. Most of the demos I do are paid demonstrations that I charge a fee for. I usually am charging a manufacturer or a retailer to produce that demo because it takes me time. This is my job. There's man hours involved in making all this content. This time around, a manufacturer or a retailer is not involved. The sponsor is RAVIEW. What is RAVIEW? RAVIEW is an app. You know what an app is, right? I've got a link to it down below that'll tell them if you came from me, but even if you don't come from me, they can see that people are coming in after a video and stuff like that. RAVIEW is a lot of fun. I've been using it. They've already sponsored one video, and they're probably going to sponsor more because the return on investment worked out for them. But the fun thing about this is that this demo is not sponsored by anyone who benefits from me saying this is good or bad. I could say this is the best product ever manufactured, and everyone should own 3 of them, and they won't benefit in any way from that. I could say that it's the worst product ever manufactured, and the only reason to buy one is to destroy it so that no one else can ever be cursed by this object, and it wouldn't hurt them at all or help them. It would have no effect on their bottom line. All they want is for people to use their app to review the things that they already have. It's a review site. It's called RAVIEW. Click the link. Go review your own stuff. Go RAVIEW your own stuff. Things you've bought, things you currently own, things that were gifts. Your grandma gave you some pedal and it sucked. You didn't buy it, but your grandma gave it to you. You can't tell your grandma it sucks, but you can tell the internet. Go get on RAVIEW. Go tell everyone your grandma bought you a sucky pedal. So anyways, huge thanks to RAVIEW. If you appreciate the concept of demos where the sponsor doesn't really benefit at all from what we say about the product, please show them that you appreciate that by clicking the link and joining. It's free. Download the app, sign up. There's no charge. Review your own stuff. It's that simple. And you know, if they think it's worth it, they're going to sponsor more videos. So that's my plea to you. That's my hard pitch in this video. And at the end of the video, when I'm done messing around with this, I'm going to get on my phone and I'm going to leave a RAVIEW for it. Like I did for the last product that they sent me, the JC22. Remember that? RAVIEW sponsored that video as well. And that one was great. It was a ton of fun. All right, let's plug this thing in and get started. I'm going to be using my Fender American Ultra 2 Stratocaster, which I mentioned earlier. I like it, but if you don't, go leave a RAVIEW, right? And of course, I'm going to be running into the 2 Princeton's rig. And And if I feel like throwing some reverb or delay or some other weirdness on top of this whole situation, I've got the motherboard down on the floor. I'll call out pedals as I use them. So anyways, let's get started. Did I already say what this thing is? It's a fuzz. It's an envelope filter. It's a hard chopping tremolo. It is a low octave plucked stand-up bass simulator. It is a rhythm section. It's got these switches here for bongo, brush, tambourine, and clav, or clave, however it's pronounced. And it doesn't do the Casio keyboard thing where you press on the buttons and set the speed and you have this little rhythm machine going on. It follows your playing dynamics. It's triggered by your playing dynamics. So if you want to have tambourine on top of your hard hits, you can. So let's get into this thing. There's a lot of ground to cover. There's a lot of weirdness to experiment with here. Might as well start with the fuzz, right? So first we've got to turn it on. This is the cancel switch. The original unit had this great big cancel button in the middle, and you would press it and it would turn everything off. This is a lot more convenient where it just bypasses the pedal. It is your bypass. And then you can engage the fuzz right here. Here's my clean signal. From the number 2 position with the humbucker split. Here is the fuzz. Very simple controls for the fuzz. You've got your master volume, which controls your master volume when the fuzz is off as well, and a very simple tone control. And it's just perfect, like broken sounding, 60s psychedelic Velcro ripping, like voltage starved sort of fuzz. Like, I would buy just this fuzz on its own because I love that flavor. Like I always say, like the best fuzzes sound broken, and that sounds broken to me. That's the sort of thing I love. That's my style of fuzz. You might not love it. You might be a big muff fuzz lover. You might not like fuzz at all. But how do you feel about envelope filters? The envelope filter on this pedal is called the Wow Wow. It's because that's what it was called on the original unit. We've got the speed right here, which makes you think it's going to be an auto wah where it just goes at a rhythm. No, it is an envelope filter. I've got to turn it on. It works without the fuzz as well. Throw the fuzz back on. Let's try some different speeds. want to try that with reverb. Here it is with the Chase Bliss Dark World. Oh, that's too much fun. Every now and then people tell me that I should be working on soundtracks, and if I ever have the opportunity, I don't think I have the discipline to do it, but if I ever have the opportunity, like, this is the sort of thing that is going to be in my bag of tricks. Like, it puts me immediately into this, like, 1970s, early 80s, low budget horror movie, like sci-fi movie, mystery sort of vibe. Like, that's the sound right there. I had a real good thing going and I messed it up. Oh well. All right, reverb disengaged. Let's turn on what this device and the original device called the Echo Repeat. Steve and I, it took us a minute to figure out what was going on here. We were like, is this some sort of really rudimentary effect that is trying to be an echo? No, it's just a hard chopping tremolo. I'll turn off the wow wow for now. We've got a speed knob here. It gets so fast, you kind of can't hear that it's there anymore. Especially with the fuzz on. Let's see what happens when it's clean. There's a subtle, like, psychologically buried, like, hard chopping trim hidden in that. Like, it's unsettling. This whole thing is like a spooky sounds box. Oh, I hope I get this thing edited in time to publish it on Halloween. This would be a perfect Halloween video. It's weird, isn't it? Let's try it with the fuzz back on. Like, every now and then it feels like it can trigger out of that waveform. What is going on? There's opportunity to make glitchy sounds there, like counter to that pulsing hard chopping trim. I want to understand what's happening there. That's wild. Let's try it with the wow wow. Oh, interesting. It's pulsing a peak into that tremolo to give you the impression of an echo. Or maybe it's triggering the wow? I don't know what's going on here, but it's strange. Now it's gone. I don't... The glitchiness and the weirdness is part of the charm with this thing. Back to the reverb. Okay, let's move on to some other stuff. You can flick this switch and it reintroduces your dry signal into the mix, counter that fuzz, which is very useful if you're playing bass or something like that. I should probably grab the bass 6. Here, I'll try it with guitar first. Also, two more things in this section right here connected to the wow foot switch. There are color tones to change the sound of what's going on. They're like cocked wah sort of sounds. Here's with both on. I think they're still affected when the natural amp is off. Yeah. There it is without the natural switch on. Here it is with the natural on. Yeah, that sounds great for bass. Now we'll try it with the wow. Echo repeat. Do you hear that? Do you hear how it's like, it's doubling up? I wonder if that's connected to the input sensitivity at all, which I haven't covered yet. It's unpredictable. I don't know. It feels like whatever is connected to the wow wow, like somehow the echo repeat circuit is connected to the wow wow, and every now and then the trigger from the wow wow affects a glitch into the echo repeat. You buy these things for the mojo. Like, this is not meant to be like this perfect, like modern thing. It is capturing the weirdness and the freakiness of those vintage units. Try it with the color tone. All right, we're going back to the dark world. What does the manual sheet say about that echo? Oh, echo repeat adds a percussive tremolo that restarts with each note pluck, giving the illusion of a delay effect. This is why every now and then it helps to read the manual so you can understand what's going on. So if I play outside of the rhythm where I'd normally expect a tremolo pedal to carry the weight for me, to keep perfect rhythm, if I play outside the rhythm, it will trigger that glitchy sort of sound. That's fun. I like that. Someone's watching right now and they're like, oh man, that's it. That's the sound that I've been needing. That's it. And everyone else is like, I don't know what I'd do with that. But there's one or two people out there that's like, yeah, that's what I need on my track. That's the weird thing. All right, let's keep moving. All right, next up, well, we've already covered so much ground. Fuzz, envelope filter, freaky, weird, like totally different from everything else I've ever experienced. Hard chopping trim that restarts with your picking dynamics. We've got different color tones built in that give you like this cocked wah sort of sound. Let's get into the low octave thing, and we still won't be done. There's still ground to cover. It's ridiculous. There it is. You have a separate volume control here. I could go all the way dry with that if I want to. Of course, I want to add that in to my normal signal. How did they do it? How did they pull that off in the 60s? Like, I'm sure this uses some sort of digital technology. Maybe it's all analog. Maybe this is a full circuit recreation. I don't know. But how did they do that? A triggered sub-octave. And however they did it, there was a limitation where it didn't sustain with your whole note. It was this triggered effect that also changed pitch. Maybe I'm not giving the engineers of the 60s enough credit. Maybe this was a simple thing to do, but it blows my mind a little bit that they were able to pull it off. It's really fun to trigger it with like muted strings. But it sounds great when you let the strings ring out too. That's just good, clean fun. Let's try it with the fuzz now. Now with the wow wow. You could hear like my bend triggered it, that sub octave. Like little glitchy things can catch it. And of course I can't reproduce it. You can see layering all this stuff together starts to lead to some really fun, creative territory. Let's turn off the fuzz and that sub octave and just start exploring this percussion section. We'll start with the bongo. Turn it up. You've got a level control for the percussion. That one's there, but it's subtle. Then the brush. The brush and the tambourine, I think, are my favorite. They just kind of work. I like how it picks up that extra little that I do, like just palm muting as I'm finding that rhythm. It's just the same triggered sound over and over again, which is why that low octave thing is so impressive, is because it does follow the pitch. On to the tambourine. Oh, do I still have that on? I was like, that tambourine's got a thud to it, doesn't it? Tambourine's cool. The clav? I'm usually trying to track down drip, but this is click. Okay, I'm gonna throw on the true spring. Well, let's try it with the bass. Throw the brush in there. And the tambourine. And might as well throw the bongo in too, even though it's kind of quiet. Oh, I don't hate that. That's fun. lay down like a loop or something with this. Did I cover everything? Fuzz, wow wow, echo repeat, the color tones, the natural amp setting, the low octave, all of the rhythm sections, the input sensitivity, like you can figure out that. Let's mess with it a little bit. Yeah, you turn it all the way down, and it's not sensing you at all. So if you want to dial in a sweet spot, that's what it's there for. Maybe playing with instruments with different outputs affects it. Or maybe just the output, the push of the guitar or the instrument affects how quickly things happen. I don't know, it's something to play around with. I think in the middle is where I live. Let's lay down a loop. We got to, right? Oh man, I could annoy the neighbors and my family with that sort of nonsense all day long. Are you? Oh man. It's a recreation from a multi-effect pedal from the 60s, and I'm sitting here making like Devo riffs and new wave tracks with it. Like that was my first try. That just fell right out of me. That was magic. I had a great time just now. The original unit, the G2 rhythm sound by Maestro, I think it would have been a lot more successful. It would have been legendary status if they had also invented a digital looper pedal at the same time. This should almost have a looper built into it. Like, just make it a little bit longer, an extra foot switch right there with a level control and a built-in looper. And you got yourself like a creativity box. You got yourself a songwriter tool just sitting right here. Like, it's wild to me that this thing that is so clearly a reproduction of very funky, glitchy, uncertain technology from half a century ago, if not longer, has this much juice in it, has this much mojo in it, is so creatively inspiring. Like, part of me wants to say that Jack White should have one of these. The other part of me is like, Mark Mothersbaugh should have one of these. The other part is like, Danny Elfman should have, like, there's a lot of very creative musicians out there that I think would have a lot of fun with this. So that's kind of where I'm landing on it. Oh man, I was impressed with the original unit that Steve and I got to mess with, and I'm extra impressed with the fact that Templo Devices was able to squeeze it all, and not just squeeze it all in there, but authentically represent it in pedal format. And one of the things we said when we covered the original is like, Gibson owns Maestro. Gibson, you should be redoing this for the Maestro line. And they didn't. Templo did it. Like, Gibson should be pulling the fuzz and the envelope filter out of here. For sure. That echo repeat gets pretty weird and glitchy. But it'd be fun if they threw that in there too. And then the low octave thing is unique. It's totally different from any other low octave pedal that you would be messing around with in a modern sort of setup. It's a triggered, like, quickly plucked stand-up bass simulator. And then the rhythm section on top of it, like, I just laid down like a whole track with the bass 6. All the rhythm on that was from this pedal. Like, I came back in and laid down 16ths or 8ths or whatever with the clav. But all that was just one loop, except for that little clav that I put in that I probably didn't even need to put in. You guys probably didn't even notice. And then immediately transferring to just spooky, freaky, weird, kind of like fuzzy, envelope filtered lead parts that sounded cool. The only thing I added was reverb. I was having fun stacking reverb, and at the very end I threw in the A-Labs delay to get those freaky, like, spaceship sounds. Dude! Am I gonna buy one of these for myself? Because this one is Steve's. Oh man. So anyways, it's time. It's time to write a RAVIEW. All right, here I am on the app. As you can see, people in my feed are reviewing all sorts of stuff. Guitars and amps and toothpaste. Let's search for Templo. Well, here we go. Oh, there it is. Templo Devices. T2 multi-effect pedal. Here I go. I'm going to leave a RAVIEW. I'm going to rave it up. Upload pictures. I think that's a fun picture. Okay, I did it. I left a RAVIEW. Let's read it together and revisit all the things I've already realized across this entire video, but this is what I've committed to eternity on the RAVIEW app. Let's get creative. Vintage multi-effects weirdness for your modern guitar rig. I had the pleasure of experiencing the real thing with my friend and co-host Steve years ago at a Sweetwater event. And this does all the things The original Maestro G2 was so far ahead of its time that it never really caught on. But now the future is ready not only to embrace the creative potential of this device, but also its glitchy lo-fi quirks. The next generation of Jack Whites, Mark Mothersbaugh, and Danny Elfman could use this tool to craft the cultural soundscapes of the future. What is it though? The T2 is a modern recreation of the Maestro G2. It features a nasty, broken-sounding psychedelic fuzz, a swooshing envelope filter, a glitchy and unique hard-pulsing tremolo, a low-octave stand-up bass pluck simulator, and an input dynamic controlled percussion section. It truly is the strangest multi-effect I have ever had the pleasure of playing through. You should know that it requires 18 volts to power. I had a great time. I think this is a really fun product. You already know, you have it figured out whether or not you want one of these or not. It might not fit with your playing style. It might not fit with your creative flow. It might be exactly what you need. You might end up writing an album around this thing. It might become the centerpiece of your busking rig or your singer-songwriter looper rig or something like that. I think it's really cool. That's my review. Well, some of that was. Some was me just regurgitating my thoughts here on camera again. So once again, huge thanks to Steve. Everyone thanks Steve in the comments section. This is his. I don't need anything more in my life. As you could tell, I am just buried in gear over here, but I'm feeling like I need this. If I was songwriting right now, I would ask Steve how long I could borrow it for. Too cool. Too cool. What was I saying again? Oh, thanks, Steve. Huge thanks to Steve for buying this thing. Huge thanks to RAVIEW for picking up the opportunity to sponsor the labor that it takes, the time that it takes to produce a demo like this. That's why I charge for my demos. This is why I typically charge manufacturers and retailers for what is essentially a marketing service, an advertising service of me doing a demonstration of their products. If it makes you feel uncomfortable that I charge a fee for that work when I'm working with manufacturers and retailers, then you should put your money where your mouth is. And you should click on the link in the description and you should go sign up for RAVIEW. It's free. And if you use my link, they'll know that you came from me, which will ensure that they'll want to hire me again to do more demos where it doesn't matter to them if I say it's good or bad. If this sucked, I could have said it right now. I could have been like, this is awful. Don't ever buy this. I would say that anyways in every demo that I do. I pride myself on my honesty. I really, truly do. I would say anyways, but you can rest assured knowing that if I wasn't honest in this scenario, I could just totally trash on this thing if I felt it needed to. If it deserved to be trashed on, there would be nothing stopping me. There would be like, oh no, I've got to think of the brands. I've got to think of the corporations. What'll happen to them if I say this isn't good enough? I'm never tempted that direction. But you don't know that. You have to have a lot of trust when you watch videos on the internet that are doing demos or what you might consider a review. I don't consider what I do to be a review, but what I did in this video was a RAVIEW. So anyways, I could sit here and flap my gums forever on this subject matter, and it would be really super boring for most of you. And for a small percentage of you, you'd be sitting there waiting for me to make some sort of mistake in the way I phrase things so you could be like, see, that proves it. Paid shill all the way, all the time. I'll say I'm paid because I have to be. I have to make a living doing this. But shill? I don't think I'm a shill. Disagree with me if you want to. A shill, like in the old-timey sort of like definition of the word, was the person who stood in the back of the crowd as like the traveling salesman, like held up their snake oil, and then the shill would come through the crowd and have a made-up story about how it cured their baldness, their blindness, and their emphysema, and got them a beautiful wife and healed their horse from all its ailments. Like, That's not what I do. I demonstrate products so that you can decide whether or not you like them. All right, have I been rambling long enough? Okay. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, just like, leave me rude and nasty comments. Support us on Patreon. Buy a shirt if you're naked. And stay grounded. Bye, everybody.